Welcome to our Wellness Hub, where you will find experts in the field of health, wellness, healing, and mindset. My name is Moni C. I'm a creative mindset coach and your host. Today, we have a wonderful guest. Her name is Kym Coco. She's an author and peak performance coach. Kym, thank you so much for being here today. Why don't you start by telling us a bit about yourself, your story, and what was the turning point in your life that pushed you to do what you're doing today? The floor is yours.
Moni, thank you so much for having me and joining together for this great collaboration of not just champions mindset, but this honoring of our evolution and how we can refine this along the way to be our best selves. So to answer your question, what I'm doing today as a peak performance coach, as a yogi, as a writer, as a speaker, really started back in my childhood as an athlete. And this ongoing dedication to excellence that was instilled in me by my parents. I had the pleasure of formally studying kinesiology, or human movement, through my master's degree in Northern California, and really then balancing not just this physical approach, but utilizing yoga and meditation and the mindset to bring the whole body, mind, and spirit together. If you fast forward, after my degree, I met my husband, Steve. He was teaching emotional kinesiology, and we found this really beautiful blend, not just as partners through our 13 years of marriage, but then he got me into golf, and that really started to fine-tune how I enjoyed sports and mindset and worked with clients today.
That's fascinating. So you said your parents transferred this pursuit of excellence. Do you think that people are actually born with it or they need the push from the parents?
I believe that we all naturally evolve. I believe by our life experience, we are exposed to a variety of people, places, and things. I believe parents can help support that by encouraging what we're exposed to. And yet, I believe there's this natural drive to explore, to see beyond what is right here, to be curious. If you watch children, they're just naturally playful. They want to explore, they imagine. And I find that the parents that help cultivate that give their children a boost. And I think as adults, it serves us well to remember that we can have that curiosity and playfulness and continual evolution. And then we get that prefrontal cortex that can step in with our brain and give us some really practical ways to do that in an efficient way.
You focus on golfers, correct?
I do.
Golf is a. I played golf, and to me it was kind of, I was playing tennis, so it was a little bit slow for me. But there's a lot of mind games inside of the game of golf, correct? I mean, you can be perfect technically, you can know all the techniques, but it's your mind, correct? That it's stopping you from going to the next level.
Many times, yes. And you might notice this really in all of our life experiences. We have this, I would like to say, emotional set point, or the way our nervous system takes in information from around us in our environment. And when the pressure's turned up, when we feel that stress, that point being different for all of us, it can trigger patterns beneath the surface in the mind and the mind-body connection. And what's really wonderful, I think, is those moments you choke, the moments you don't get to utilize that perfect swing, whether it's on the tennis court or on the golf course, we have the invitation to say, okay, well, my skills might be here. It's not a skill issue. How can I rewire what's underneath so that the next time the pressure's turned up, I don't have that same response? Because we can do that.
Exactly. It's at the mind level. What have you found are the biggest blocks in golf players, clients that you work with?
There are a few elements that can trip golfers up. And I think, as you might agree, this does happen to us in our daily life too. So the first is, say, a confidence showing up, the nerves that get golfers on the first tee, especially females as an underrepresented group in the sport. We're a minority on the golf course. And so I often play with men, and there can be a very big challenge to have to prove ourselves, to have to show up and be the best from the very get-go, from that first start. And what's really interesting is when you look at the brain, the right and left hemispheres, we often think of the left as logical, right as emotional. But the right and left hemispheres both have an emotional gateway. The left side being the fear, the warning signal that says, hey, pay attention, something dangerous might be here. And yet the right side is that thrill, the adventure, that full experiential in the present. So, one of the easiest ways to start to fine tune those nerves on the first tee is to say, this isn't fear necessarily. What if it's that thrill I'm seeking to show up and be my best, an opportunity or a gateway to perform, to demonstrate my skills because I've put in the work? So that's one.
And what are the modalities that you usually use with your clients?
Do a lot of different elements. Yoga, pranayama, so breathing. We know that the breath is such a great way to already start to offset those nerves that come up, whether that's on the first tee or the 15th green. Breathing starts to induce the parasympathetic nervous system, that calming, rested, and it doesn't have to be a lengthy practice. I think of the tools we start to integrate as short term, in the moment, like the fire extinguisher. You notice the stress response kick in. How do we offset that in the moment? And then we have some longer term breathing practices you might start to incorporate off the course to have that become your new set point, to memorize that calmer state so that once you're engaged in maybe a stressful response, it doesn't trigger you in the same way. So breathing is just one. Shifting your attention is another. Our attention is like a flashlight. We can focus it on one thing really at a time. And yet in golf, so much of the game is space. You have time between one shot and another, between one green and the next tee box. So how do you manage your attention in the space so that you have your focus when you need it and you don't leak energy or your stamina, or you get into that negative headspace between those shots?
How do you stay focused on the positive? Yes. And your clients are online, but also in person or mainly online?
Mainly online. I do travel and speak. I have an upcoming circuit here in the Northern California area. In the winter, I'll be doing in the Arizona and the desert regions where I actually go speak to golf groups. And my one-on-one work is usually via Zoom, just like this.
Walk us through. I know that every client is different, but walk us through an example, one of your sessions. How long does it last? 1 hour?
I think an hour is a great amount of time because it allows us to review the assessment. So every 2 weeks when we meet, they get an assessment. It's a quick Google form just to track progress. Takes 5 minutes or less. And then we go over the successes that have been experienced, talk about games that have been played, and then look at maybe where the gaps are still between where we are now and where we're going. Because we're always evolving, whether that's in our sport or in our careers, in our family, in our relationships, and we set the goalpost ahead. And yet, as we take action toward that goalpost, we're changing and we're evolving along the way. So the goalpost moves and it shifts. And so, not just celebrating the wins, but assessing that trajectory. So let's say we revisit the goals. What are the gaps that are still present? And then let's take, for example, we have an inner dialogue issue. The inner critic gets the best of you on the golf course. Well, how can we transform that critic into a coach? One easy way to do that is to create some psychological distance, step back, and talk to ourselves like we were our best friends. We wouldn't berate our friends if they're having a hard day or if they had a bad shot. We want to encourage their resilience. And so why do we do that to ourselves? Step back and create that third person perspective, which is generally a little kinder. And when you lower the volume on that negative critic, then you have the space to see new ideas. And so let's say we're talking, that's one emergency way on the course. Let's incorporate that. That's your short-term plan as we go through. And then with the mindset, let's say we're talking about a 21-day plan. Let's notice your thoughts that you're repeatedly thinking during the day. What's the negative theme? What emotions are coming up? Overwhelm, stress, guilt, shame, just general anxiety because there's uncertainty about an element in the future. And we can start to notice those, use bilateral movements. Sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's role play. Depending on the person and the time, we can actually go through some of that dialogue, start to rewire it, and then have some clarity of what to do between sessions so that you're doing the long-term practices that start to integrate mind and body in alignment, that coherence, that really nice harmony, so that the next time you go out on the course, you have a different, I keep saying set point, but you are shifting how we internally respond to the external environment. And as we practice that long term, you're showing up differently. And then you still have those on the course fire extinguishers for when the nerves and stress or those repeated emotions come up for you.
It's all in the mind. And do you have a program?
I do. The
Okay.
focused golfer is
Mhm.
how I work with clients one on one. And that's, again, a customized plan to pivot, to start to pause and intend and visualize and use the breath and trust the great swing these ladies have, because I work with female golfers, to really maximize their capability. They've got the skills, and we're bringing the mind in line with those skills as they continue to improve. And then I also have a brilliant becoming program, which is a monthly workshop. So if you don't golf and you think, wow, these ideas sound really interesting. I want to learn how to change my mind. I want my mind and body in balance under stress, and I want to help it out every day. Then I teach those tools and techniques, addressing one different element each month of the year. And it's a great way for you to dip your toes in and keep refining your own skill set along the way.
That's wonderful for our audience, whoever doesn't play golf and whoever plays golf as well. Now, can you give us one practical tip to improve our mindset today?
I've really enjoyed this idea of leaning in to think of your passion as one foot forward and your perseverance as the other. So, the fact if you're doing something you're already energized about, that's a win. We get to celebrate that. So, amplifying the good, amplifying what you already have in momentum going. So, that would be like your left foot forward, let's say. And then you have your right foot, which is the perseverance. It's showing up, it's the resilience, it's the awareness of how I'm changing. How am I changing? Well, my goals are changing. What's new with them? This perseverance that I'm going to show up, because showing up is so important. Just doing the work, getting on the court, giving your best, even if it's a 3 today, you're showing up. And so this perseverance, taking that action step forward, honoring the passion, that fuel, that internal drive that's already there, and you can move your way forward just by honoring the two. It's what helps us have the grit and energy to keep going.
Yes, and so just do the best you can every day. Every day is maybe you cannot give 100% today, so give what you can. Give what you can.
Exactly.
Well, Kim, our time is it flew by. It's up, unfortunately. I really want to thank you for again for coming here and sharing your story, your knowledge, your expertise. You are making a difference in the world, on the golf course and outside. Never stop, and I really hope to see you again soon. Thank
Thank
you
you for
very
having
much.
me.
Thank you very much. Until next time.